Hello and welcome. We're going to start today the first of several sessions where we address some collaborative and critical thinking ideas for teachers, particularly in the classroom. So as we get started, I want to just make sure that we have what we need. One, you need access to this Zoom webinar. And so if you can see this, then you have access to it. Two, you're going to need a web-connected device. This could be a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, or a phone. And you're going to need 5 to 10 minutes of time where you can be as distraction-free as possible so that we can get through some of this content. So quick quality check, just making sure that I'm recording, and I am. The next quality check is for you. Make sure that you can hear what I'm saying. So if you can't hear or if your microphone's not working, I'll just ask you to click that microphone at the bottom of your screen and you'll see that pull-up menu. One of them says test your microphone and speakers. So test that, make sure it's working. And if it is, you get a check. And then finally, about 5 to 10 minutes of your time. Remember, this is pre-recorded, so if something interrupts your time, you can pause it and come back to it when you have a minute. Let's get started. All right, first of all, we're introducing just basic vocabulary with collaborative and critical thinking, particularly in the classroom setting. So as a teacher, the big idea, what is it? How do I structure my learning environment so that I can have innovative thinking and learning in my classroom? So again, today will be a short session. We're just introducing the ideas. I just want you to be able to identify the definitions for critical thinking and collaborative thinking. I'm going to ask you right now to just pause this video for a minute after they get the instructions, but pause it and think, and you can just take a couple of notes. I want you to think about a time when you learned something new, how to do something, or maybe like a new vocabulary word, or how to interpret, a painting or a political cartoon or a poem that you read in high school, just something that you learned that was a new learning opportunity. And what was the context? So just write that down. What was the context? What did you learn? What was the context in which you learned it? Who was with you? How did you go about learning it? What was happening? Just kind of write down as much as you can remember about learning that new thing. All right, so we're going to get started with our first definition, critical thinking. I'm working from Randy Garrison's book, Thinking Collaboratively, Learning in a Community of Inquiry. So those are the definitions that I'll use, but Garrison describes it as rigorously analyzing, conceptualizing, and assessing our ideas through personal reflection and through public discourse. Okay, so that's that first one of critical thinking. This is very, very different from what we typically think of when we think about learning and teaching in an educational setting like a classroom. Typically, what we think of is the teacher delivering content that's relatively unchangeable or unequivocal content to students in a one-way direction. There's not much thinking involved in the part of the student. They're just taking in the information. Now think back to what you wrote down on your paper just a minute ago, the first time you learned something new. Was it in a traditional setting like this where an instructor or an authority or an expert just shared some information with you or not? So what was it? How similar to it was it? How similar to a traditional classroom setting was your learning experience? All right, and collaborative thinking. Now, we're still working from Garrison's model. Collaborative thinking is defined as that personal reflection that is fused with discourse, right, or fused with discussion. And in that discussion or discourse, the ideas can be challenged. That is key to collaborative thinking for Garrison. So the question that we're looking at moving forward is how can we as teachers encourage critical and collaborative thinking? Well, we'll consider these questions in the context of our own classroom experiences moving forward. What we do know is this: critical thinking and collaborative thinking skills, these are skills that need to be explicitly taught and practiced. And like any other academic skill, we have to teach it and practice it with multiple opportunities and in multiple contexts and settings with multiple different people in order for our students and for us to learn and then generalize that learning into new settings. In just a minute, I'm going to ask you to press pause. I'm going to send you to a Padlet where you can write down what you see as the benefits of working with students in this way and what you see as the barriers to teaching that critical and collaborative thinking. So once you'll get the link, it'll be in the chat box. You'll click on that. There'll be a hyperlink there. Once you click on that link, you'll see a screen that looks like this. It's green. It's going to have the prompt there for you. You'll click on the screen and a box will appear where you will write, what do you see as the benefits to teaching students critical and collaborative thinking skills? And what do you see as the barriers or the challenges to doing that? All right, this is just the briefest of introductions. My goal is just to get you to start thinking about your experiences as a learner and as a teacher and introduce you to the definitions of Garrison when talking about critical and collaborative thinking in this particular context. I'll just review those definitions again. Remember that we're talking about having our students rigorously analyze, conceptualize, and assess their own ideas through personal reflection and through public discourse. And we're also talking about collaborative thinking, and Garrison describes that as particularly personal reflection that's fused with critical discourse where ideas can be challenged. Again, we're thinking about it, or I'm thinking about it in the context of teaching and learning. Okay, so between now and our next session, I'm going to review what you typed on the Padlet, and I would like you to take some time and reflect on a couple of things, make some notes on two areas or two places in the content that you teach that you've either planned for critical and collaborative thinking, or if you don't have it already planned in, where are two places in your content or your unit that you could develop an opportunity for teaching critical and collaborative thinking to your students. Okay, have those ideas ready for next time so that you can share out, and we will explore this topic together.